A security researcher in Palo Alto fed Apple's newest M5 chip architecture into Claude and asked a simple question. 4 hours later, the AI returned 2 working exploits that gave root access to macOS, both bypassing memory integrity enforcement, a protection that was supposed to be mathematically unbreakable. Both worked on the first attempt. The technique doesn't just work on Apple. It works on almost anything. The AI model is called Mythos, and it's the same technology you might use to write code or summarize documents. But in April 2026, Anthropic restricted access to it after internal tests revealed something that terrified even the company's own safety team. When pointed at Firefox, Mythos autonomously discovered 271 security vulnerabilities in a single pass, including 0 days that Mozilla's engineers, with decades of collective experience, had never found. When aimed at a web platform's two-factor authentication system, Mythos identified a hard-coded trust assumption buried so deep in the logic that no human auditor had ever questioned it. The model didn't just find the bugs. It chained them together into working exploits, then documented the attack path in clean, executable code. What makes this dangerous isn't that Mythos is uniquely powerful, it's that it's not. Bruce Schneier, one of the world's leading cryptographers, published an analysis in The Guardian noting that several AI models are converging on similar capabilities. Microsoft's MDASH system already scores higher than Mythos on some benchmarks. OpenAI released its own security-focused model within a month. The window where only Anthropic controlled this capability lasted less than 6 weeks. And that window shattered completely when an unauthorized group gained access to Mythos itself, exploiting the very tool designed to find exploits. The irony was lost on no one. Benedict Evans, the technology analyst who spent 2 decades tracking platform shifts, released his spring 2026 presentation with a thesis that suddenly felt uncomfortably literal. AI eats the world wasn't a metaphor for market disruption. It described a technical reality where AI had crossed a threshold in its ability to operate autonomously at the hardware and system level. The spending numbers in his deck told the story. Big Tech committed $650 billion to AI infrastructure in 2026 alone, up from $400 billion the prior year. But buried in that exponential curve was a different inflection point. AI wasn't just getting better at writing emails. It was getting better at understanding the deep structural flaws in the systems we built emails on top of. The scramble that followed Mythos's release revealed how unprepared institutions were for AI-accelerated vulnerability discovery. U.S. banks received urgent directives to patch scores of IT weaknesses flagged by the tool, but Mythos access costs roughly $500,000 per month for enterprise deployments, immediately creating a 2-tier security landscape. Japan's 3 megabanks waited 2 weeks for access. Smaller regional banks and companies in emerging markets had no access at all. The Pentagon deployed Mythos to patch its own systems while simultaneously planning to sever ties with Anthropic over unrelated policy disputes. CISA, America's civilian cybersecurity agency, was excluded from the initial rollout entirely. And every minute those gaps remained open, the possibility grew that someone with comparable AI capability and worse intentions was running the same scans. The fundamental problem is one of asymmetry, and it's getting worse. Schneier pointed out that finding and exploiting a vulnerability has always been easier than finding and fixing one, but AI amplifies that imbalance to an entirely different scale. A single model can scan millions of lines of code in the time it takes a human team to review a few thousand. It can test combinations of exploits that would take researchers months to attempt manually. And unlike a human hacker, it doesn't get tired, doesn't overlook patterns, and doesn't stop searching after it finds the first flaw. The question is no longer whether your system has vulnerabilities. It's whether you can find them before someone else's AI does. And for most organizations, the answer is already no.